In early 2023, Mexico quietly overtook China as the United States' top trading partner, a headline that hints at deeper changes in global trade. This shift is often credited to nearshoring, as companies move supply chains closer to home, but the reality is far more complex. Rather than a clean break from China, global economic ties are being rewired, creating new patterns of interdependence. Chinese investment is flowing into Mexico, not to compete, but to access the U.S. market more efficiently, creating a triangular relationship with both opportunity and risk. The old lines of rivalry have blurred. Countries now find themselves partners and competitors at once. Economic blocs outside the West, like BRICS, are rising, challenging the post-World War II order. For Mexico, deeply tied to the US but increasingly linked to China, this means navigating a strategic dilemma. The choices made today in Mexico City, Beijing, and Washington will shape the global order for decades. The world is not just changing, it's becoming more multipolar, with power and influence redistributed in unexpected ways. Mexico's position at this crossroads makes it a revealing case study for the future of international relations. Geography alone no longer determines destiny. Economic and political realities are shifting beneath our feet. Understanding these dynamics means looking beyond simple narratives of rivalry or victory. The real story is one of interdependence, competition, and adaptation in a rapidly evolving world. BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, was coined in 2001 to describe fast-growing economies poised to reshape global growth. What began as an investment thesis quickly became a political project, as these nations sought greater influence and a multipolar world order. Their first summit in 2009 marked the birth of a bloc determined to reform global institutions and reduce dependence on the US dollar. South Africa joined in 2010, expanding the group to BRICS and adding an African dimension. Together, these countries represent over 40% of the world's population and a growing share of global GDP. The new development bank, launched in 2014, offers emerging economies an alternative to Western-led financial institutions. BRICS now coordinates on issues from trade to technology, despite internal rivalries, especially between China and India. Their collaboration challenges the unipolar dominance that followed the Cold War. The bloc's evolution signals a persistent push for a more balanced international system. The 2023 Johannesburg Summit marked a turning point for BRICS, as 6 new countries, Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, were invited to join. This expansion brings major energy producers and key regional players into the fold, amplifying the bloc's influence over global markets. While internal debates revealed tensions, China pushed for rapid growth, India urged caution, the compromise expanded BRICS's reach. With nearly half the world's population and a larger share of global GDP than the G7, BRICS Plus is now a formidable force. Over 40 countries have expressed interest in joining, reflecting widespread dissatisfaction with the current global order. The expansion sets a precedent for further growth, solidifying BRICS as a major pole in a multipolar world. The bloc's ambitions are clear: reshape global governance and offer an alternative to Western dominance. Within BRICS, China is the economic powerhouse, wielding influence greater than all other members combined. Beijing champions expansion and uses the bloc to advance its global vision, challenging US dominance and promoting alternatives to the dollar. The new development bank, headquartered in Shanghai, and China's Belt and Road Initiative both extend Beijing's reach across the global south. This growing influence creates friction, especially with India, which seeks to keep BRICS genuinely multipolar. Russia, isolated by the West, aligns closely with China, while Brazil and South Africa pursue their own interests. The challenge for BRICS is balancing China's weight with the autonomy of other members, ensuring the bloc doesn't become a tool of Beijing's ambitions. As BRICS evolves, managing China's dominance will determine whether it remains a collective force or a reflection of Chinese power. Mexico's economic ties with China are deepening, even as it becomes the US's top trading partner. Much of what Mexico exports northward contains Chinese components, thanks to Chinese investment in Mexican manufacturing. This triangular trade lets Chinese firms bypass US tariffs and access the American market via Mexico. Chinese automakers and investors are expanding in Mexico, especially in manufacturing and infrastructure. This creates opportunities for Mexico, but also strategic concerns for Washington about dependency and security. Mexico's government walks a tightrope, welcoming Chinese investment while maintaining strong U.S. relations. The challenge benefits from both giants without becoming overly dependent on either. Mexico hasn't formally applied to join BRICS, but its diplomatic signals are closely watched. President López Obrador's rhetoric often echoes BRICS themes: sovereignty, multipolarity, and criticism of U.S. dominance. Mexico has strengthened ties with BRICS members and participated in related forums, signaling a desire to diversify its alliances. Yet, its foreign policy remains pragmatic. The U.S. is still Mexico's economic bedrock. Any move toward BRICS is carefully calibrated to avoid jeopardizing this vital partnership. Mexico uses talk of multipolarity as leverage, asserting independence while staying within Washington's orbit. This balancing act gives Mexico bargaining power with both the U.S. and China. For now, Mexico occupies the space in between, reaping benefits from both sides while avoiding firm commitments. For decades, the U.S. dollar has dominated global finance, granting America unique economic and geopolitical power. But BRICS is challenging this dominance, pushing for de-dollarization to insulate members from U.S. policy and sanctions. BRICS nations are trading more in their own currencies, and the bloc's expansion to major energy exporters could undermine the petrodollar system. While the dollar's complete displacement is unlikely soon, its share of global reserves is shrinking. The new development bank is lending in local currencies, further reducing dollar reliance. This trend erodes America's financial leverage and levels the playing field for other economies. The global financial system is moving toward a multi-currency reality. The implications are profound: less U.S. control, more competition, and a rebalancing of global power. The dollar's reign isn't over, but its grip is loosening. The world is preparing for a new era in international finance. The rise of BRICS and China's growing presence in the Americas challenge the old U.S. approach to regional dominance. Washington can no longer assume automatic influence. It must compete for partnerships in its own hemisphere. Demanding countries choose sides is counterproductive. Nations like Mexico want diverse partnerships. The U.S. must offer more investment, fair trade, and respectful diplomacy, not just security guarantees. Security concerns about Chinese and Russian investments are real, but must be addressed collaboratively, not confrontationally. The unipolar moment is over. Leadership now means building flexible, resilient coalitions. America's strengths remain formidable, but it must adapt to a world where power is shared. The challenge: prove that U.S.-led partnerships can deliver more prosperity and stability than the alternatives. The expansion of BRICS signals a profound shift in global power, challenging the Western-led order of the past 75 years. BRICS's push for multipolarity and de-dollarization is gaining traction, especially in the global south. Mexico's balancing act, anchored to the U.S. but drawn to China and BRICS, mirrors the choices facing many nations. The global financial system is the immediate battleground, with the dollar's dominance eroding and new currencies rising. The emerging order will be more fragmented, competitive, and unpredictable. The rise of new power centers and the assertiveness of the global south mark the end of unipolar dominance. The key question: can old and new powers build a stable, prosperous multipolar future, or will competition lead to greater chaos? The world stands at a historic crossroads. How nations respond will define the decades ahead.